Have you ever been at a thrift store and scanned a book using Scout IQ and the buy box comes back at like $300, $500, $1,000 and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, is this actually possible? Is somebody really going to pay $1,000 or $500 for this book? And if you've been following my channel at all, you always know that the answer is Keepa. So today we're going to take a deep dive into the Keepa chart of a book that supposedly has a buy box of $625, and we're going to see if that's actually realistic and if we can sell it for that. If you're new to the channel, my name is Joji Davenport. I'm a high school teacher. I also am a six-figure Amazon FBA bookseller. I do all online book arbitrage. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, follow the channel, but let's get right into it. So I'm over here in Steve Rakin's Selling Books on Amazon FBA Facebook group, and you can see that Stephen Tower, somebody who has a lot of great questions, by the way, said, hey, I was out thrifting today. I found this book with a 1.6 million rank, has a 70 score. The buy box right now is $625. And you want to know, basically, should I shoot for the moon or should I think like a logical human being like Joji always tells him to do and think about pricing the book at what it's historically sold for? So the only way that you can actually know this is if you take a look at the Keepa chart, which means you have to take the ISBN, put it into Amazon, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're over here on the listing. This is the Third Axis Fourth Alley. So this is a book that was published in 1995. Now my initial thought is that this book probably has some value, and the reason why I think that is because this is about World War II. There's 6 used offers starting as low as $99, and then there's a collectible offer starting at $199.99. And the crazy thing is that Amazon is giving the Amazon FBA seller the buy box at $625. But the question is that a reasonable buy box? Is that what the book is actually going to sell for? I'm down here at the Keepa chart, and if you're new to analyzing books using Keepa, it's a Chrome extension that's free. However, if you want to see this very handy and very, very important thing called sales rank, you actually need to pay about $20 a month for the subscription, and it is completely worth it. I'm not affiliated with Keepa at all. I just know fundamentally that if you don't know how to read a Keepa chart, then it's going to be really hard for you to be an Amazon FBA bookseller. Now, with a book like this, I don't only want to look at the used price, which is this black line, but I also want to look at this collectible price because, again, this is a book that's quite old, which means that some people on the listing could be listing it in collectible condition because maybe it's signed or maybe there's something special about it that warrants it being listed in collectible condition. Now, since July, it looks like a number of copies have come on the listing. It looks like there's been up to 10 used offer counts at any one time. And the most consistent data for this book has definitely happened in the past few months where you could actually count the number of sales. This would not be a sale right here, but this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 sales. And what you could do is overlap the lowest used price and the sales rank drops, and that would give you an indication of what the book sold for at the minimum. So for example, if we were to zoom in at this one sale right here where the sales rank goes from 1.9 million and the book becomes way more popular in the book category and goes down to a 205,000 bestseller rank, that indicates a sale because the lowest used price at that time was $99.99. A logical human being would think that somebody bought the book for $99.99. Now, if we look at the other 4 or 5 sales that happened in between November and December, you can also see that the lowest used price at this time is right around $99.99. So this book's value is right around $100. Now, one thing that's always interesting to do is actually expand the data and look a little bit further back into time. You can see that if I look at an entire year's worth of data, all of a sudden the sales rank drops are a little bit different. Like for example, in September, this book actually sold for $49.40. But back here in July, you can see that there was a sales rank drop when the collectible price was $199.99 and the used price was $281. Now, I'm not quite sure whether or not that was a used copy or a collectible copy that sold, but my thinking there is that if the collectible offer was the lowest price and the book would have sold for at least $199.99. Now, we do see another sales rank drop right here at $57.59. And even that sale is a little bit difficult to tell whether or not that was a used sell or a collectible sell. And the reason why I say that is because notice that the collectible offer actually goes from 1 to 0, but so does the used offer count. Now, if we look a little bit further back into March, we can see that there was a sell at the 175 collectible mark, and then also another sell at 98. So what I'm gathering from this year's worth of data is I think that this book should be able to sell for $99.99 at the lowest merchant price. If you're an Amazon FBA seller, there is a possibility that you could get a little bit more, but do I think that you're able to get 6x the amount of what the book has been selling for? I would say probably not. And the reason why I say that is because generally if you have a book that doesn't move very frequently, which means it doesn't really sell that often, then the opportunity for somebody to come along to not understand that they could look at the other used offers and just click the buy box is actually a lot more slim, just due to the fact that there are fewer people buying the book. So in this case, I do not think a logical human being would spend 6x the price that they could spend today. I think a logical human being is going to come around, and if they want this book, they're probably going to spend $100. Now, before we call it quits on this Keepa chart, I do want to look at the last 4,300 days. For books that have been published for a long time and therefore have been sold for a long time, the further you go back into time, the better, because this book was published in 1995, which happens to be the year after I was born. And clearly, if this book has been selling that long, probably 2017, 2018, 2019 is probably not going to be very much different than 2022 or 2023. What I mean by this is this clearly is not a textbook, meaning it's not going to become less relevant over time. It actually, in some ways, might become even more rare or more relevant over time. So what we should do is look at all of the other data between 2015 and 2021, where Keepa did record sales history. And kind of what I see for this book is that it actually is all over the place. A lot of the sales are even well above $99. Like, notice that there have been some sales about $130, but there also have been times when the book has sold for right around $20. For example, this sale here, December 10th of 2021, was for a total of $20. And the way I know this was a used offer is that simply the used offer count went from 7 and actually just dropped off. So I'm wondering if the person who bought that actually bought 7. If they did, that would be a big brain move, because this book definitely has a lot of value. Now, if you had 7 copies, it'd still probably take you quite a long time to sell them all, unless you're willing to also sell them at an undervalued price. But that's interesting that we see the used offer count drop so drastically right there, from basically 7 down to 0. If we look back into 2018 and 2019 again, we do see some sales. It looks like these sales are actually a little bit less than $99.99. So there's even a couple of sales in here as low as $28, but there still are some sales registered at $90. So to kind of summarize my thought process behind what this book should sell for, I think if you list it as a merchant seller for about $99, I think that's going to move within a couple months. And if you list it as a prime seller, I bet you that sells even quicker, because generally, as a prime seller, there's priority due to the shipping speed. And if you're still matching the lowest used price and you're a prime seller, I would bet that this thing is going to move really quickly. Now, because you're a prime seller, there is an opportunity for you to exploit the prime gap. Just, I don't think you're going to be able to exploit it by 6x the value. I think a more reasonable prime gap would be maybe like $129.99. I think that would be completely reasonable, and I think you could probably sell for that.